Hello everybody. The date today is 20th of November and should we start? Yeah, let's go. So the number one thing is I worked on the quiz application and I was quite excited before working on it because the main part, like the icebreaker, you can say, that how to store data in local storage and then retrieve from it was done, and I was really happy that I thought that the hard part, the hard work is gone or done. But then today I faced another issue and I had to stop, and the issue is I stuck in sending updated points from the clients, which has to be added with already existing points in the database, and then the new added points has to be saved. So the scenario is like, for instance, for every user, let's just say there is a points field which is by default set to 0, but then the user does something, maybe interact or maybe do whatever, and his points get increased. Now the problem is, if I send like 4, like he has increased, like 4 points has to be increased for a user. So I'll send 4 from the client side, but then the server side I will store that 4 instead of 0, and that's okay for the first time. But then the next time I will say, like, okay, how many more points have to be stored, or how many points the user has earned in this session, and let's just say it's 10. So if I send 10, then the database is just storing 10. So instead of adding 10 plus 4, he is just storing 10. So that is the problem. So I have to figure out a way to bypass it, and I think it's quite easy. I'll have to just do a bit of thinking, and whenever thinking comes in my mind, the one thing that I can think of is copy and a pen. That really helps, to be honest. All right, I kind of felt like I used, to be honest, a lot often. I'll try to stop using that. All right, moving on. So the second one that I worked is on the Game of Thrones application, the Angular application. And wow, yes, I have spent 3 hours on it, like 3 hours, and I was so determined to finish it that like the first problem that I was facing. So if I give you a little bit of recall, then in the last session of this Game of Thrones application, I made a service in a factory, and then what I did was, as soon as the application starts, I'll run the factory and load all the data from the HTTP requests, and then I'll store it in another service, and then the controller will be using that service. So that was the scenario. And now my book controller is getting data from that service. That's good, but every book has an array of characters where the URLs are stored instead of the characters information. So what I had to do is I had to split the URL, take out the whatever indexes, and then search by that number in the character index, in the characters array. And obviously the numbers will not match because in the URL the characters start from 1, but actually in arrays the indexes start from 0. So yeah, I have to subtract 1 from whatever number I took out. And so basically what I did is for every book I took out the numbers, the characters, and I stored it in another field which I made, and I called it like book index, I don't know, character indexes probably. And then I stored there all the IDs of the characters, and then I used them to search on the characters array, and then I displayed the characters information, basically just the name. And I also designed the single view page for the book, like how to display details for a single book. And now it looks good. It looks like a book though. And that's it. It took me 3 hours. Basically, the time that I spend on more is figuring out how to retrieve the ID out of the URL and then storing it somewhere else with uh, with the relevant or with the corresponding book index. So yeah, it was quite a pain, but well, I made it. And the third thing was the easiest part. I learned MySQL. I learned about char and the differences between varchar and char, like how varchar is different from char. And also I learned the differences among data types like decimal, float, double. Like decimal is very good for precision, float and double is very good for storage, all this stuff. Alright, so that's it for today. And as you know, I'm going to prepare for the semester examination now. And right now it's actually 10:30. Yeah, I'm a bit late in recording this video. I had some other works to do, and I have to study for my semester examination now. Alright, so see you tomorrow. Alright, and I'm sorry, I almost forgot. In my last video, I said that I have a session with the tech expert, and if I get some good answers, I will definitely tell you. And I just got one, but I think it's better if I share it. And I asked that in companies, do they use pre-made HTML templates, or they just build a site from scratch? Like, there are thousands or even more pre-made templates available: bootstrap template, HTML templates, CSS, and what's not. So obviously, it's most probable that whatever your requirement is, you will find a template that will match the requirement. And so I asked that, do companies use the pre-made templates? And the answer is no, mostly not. The reasons being, they first of all the templates have some limitations, and that's the reason. And I don't know, he didn't say much about why, but he said that it's not, or maybe I forgot. And yeah, so the answer is no. Yeah, but they use it. It doesn't mean that they don't use the pre-made templates. They use it for the demo purposes, like for just quickly making a site and showing it, okay, this is how it will look, are you okay with it, to the client. So this is where they use the pre-made templates. Alright, so that's it for today, and meet you tomorrow. Have a good day, fellas.